Go to the Filters menu and down to Distort and Affine. With Affine, you can apply transformations and it can be used with layers or just a basic background design. Now what you've got, scale, you've got offset and you've got extend modes. Now for default, I'm just going to go with the 0 initially. It does default to wrap. But you can now rotate it. So if I rotate it, you can see what happens if I rotate it. Ends up with the 0 option, gives you the transparent backgrounds, which you might like. You might like it just being cut off or changing at different angles. Now, unfortunately, you can't set a rotation point here. Would be nice, but you can't. And you can put it back again. Now, what you can also do is you can double click on that and you can enter a value, say, of 5 or something. So you can override it. You don't have to use this. And you see it clicks at certain positions, 0, whatever, 270, etc. You can hold down the Alter Option key and then you can free flowing move that around. So you can just change it that way if that's what you want. Also, you've got scale here. So I can go for, say, 25. So 25 and 25. Now it puts it at the top corner and that's with the 0. But you've also got offset. So if you want it to be repositioned, you can turn around and say, well, I want it at 50-50. So 50%. So you can type 50 there and 50. Now it doesn't particularly look like it's particularly, but that's obviously that is at the centre. Looks like 50. Yep, that's what it's done. It's just put it at 50-50, right dead centre. And that's for the scale for extend mode with 0. But if you go for, say, for full, it puts a nice white background, which you may want. But of course, if you're using a layer, maybe you don't want that. Also repeat. You can see what happens with repeat. You've got the design now just stretches out, and it's especially useful if you've got sort of white or whatever, some colour at the edges as well as black. You get these lovely streaks there. I must admit it's not one that I particularly use, but it just uses the pixels at the edge. Also you've got wrap and you get this effect here, which unfortunately has a seam in it, but that's the default, which I must admit I wish the default was actually the mirror one, which is probably the best because that gives you a nice seamless design. And of course you can still continue to rotate, you can still continue scale, and you can put it, say, like 10 and 10, 2 and so on. Unfortunately you can't. 10 is the limit. I find that a slightly odd one. I would have thought it could have put it down to at least 1 or 2, but it doesn't. However, what you can also do is, say you decide, you know what, I want this to be, so I've got it 100 and suddenly you think I want it in 4. And you can see you can also have them separate. So you don't have to have, you could have 100 there and 10 there. So you get it sort of zoom and sort of cross like that. But you can also go and say divided by 4, because you might not, I mean, obviously it's 25%, but if you suddenly divide 100 by 3 or something, you might think, ooh, that's 33.333, etc. Well, you can just do that. And it just works it out for you. And likewise in the offset, you can put plus 4%, and it will put it to 54%. So you don't have to work out, you can work out the maths, but it's still quite easy to just add in or multiply, etc. And divide, of course, as well, and subtract. Also, you've got here, down here, the preview as well. But it's this great little filter, which of course you can apply it like this. You've got fine, click apply it like that. And what you can then do, of course, with lots of filters, you can always go up to here and repeat Affine. So you can obviously create that smaller scale, which is, I don't know why it's not available within the tool itself, but you can obviously repeat the application. And also, what you can also do is, going back to that design, you can apply it, and then you've also got the option here, layer, and you can fade it as well. So layer and fade Affine. You can fade, and you get sort of nice blur effect, obviously, depending on the image, of course. And you can fade between that, and you can see the original, and then you've got that design. And also you've got blending mode, so you can run through and say, you know what, I want difference there. So difference, you can create some very strange, unusual with this text. And you can go backwards and forwards and maybe have it about 50%. 50% is quite good with that sort of thing, just for creating some interesting designs. And of course, once you've got that design, you can always go to filter and repeat fine again. So you can then create another effect, but this time, of course, with the difference in it. And of course, you can apply other filters effects as well. So filters and distort and Affine. And of course you can modify it, maybe go for, I've been reducing it down, you can also just go for straight 300. So you can create 300 and 100. So you can sort of going off in that direction. Or offset 23. And you can, unfortunately you can't drag. It's a pity really. It's one place that I would have thought you could do that. And also you've got rotation of course as well. Also there's unfortunately no option for clicking anywhere. Would be nice, but unfortunately there isn't for a center point. Because unfortunately center point just seems to, you can see where it's just dragging it from like up here. It's just turning around there. Obviously you can change that with the offset. You can just move that there and you can see rotate there. But it's not very sort of flexible, I don't think. I mean, you can do it. You can go there, offset down there and then rotate around there. You can see the rotation is at that point. But it would be nice if you could just click on it and just position it manually. It would be really great sort of feature. But that is a way of center point rotation. And once you're happy with that, of course, click apply. And then, of course, go and repeat Affine and you can apply it again to create even more unusual designs sort of like that. Hope you found this of interest. Thank you much.